welcome to 06880, the podcast. We're here in the fantastic Westport Library. Not enough people around, but hopefully there will be people soon. And my guest this week is Rosie Jon. Rosie is a remarkable Westport woman. And I'll start off this way. Okay, you're an artist. You're involved in the Asian American Pacific Islander community here in Westport. You're an advocate for people with disabilities. How do you identify yourself? Who is Rosie Jon?
That's a really good question. First of all, thank you for inviting me today. Who am I? I'm Rosie, and one of the things that I love to share with people is the fact that I'm not ordinary, but instead I choose to be extraordinary rather than ordinary. So I'm a human being who recognizes that I have a purpose living here, and my purpose is to love others, and because I was born in such a unique way, I was born without both my lower arms. I feel like now that I am a mother myself, I've become more involved in being a voice for those who don't necessarily feel like they have a voice in the community. So yeah, this is me. I'm just a human being who's living life, trying to be extraordinary rather than ordinary. Yeah.
Oh, you are extraordinary. Do any of those identities matter more for you or matter at different times? Person with a disability, Asian American. How do those identities work and intersect?
So for me, I think I come in so many different layers. I realize that, whenever something comes up where I feel like I could be a voice for that community, that's when I end up going through my own unraveling experience of understanding who I am, and with my Asian ethnic origin, the events that have happened in recent months has brought to light my own inner Asian child, and just realizing that I have a part to play in this as well, and so that's how I got involved with the peace rally that happened a few weeks ago, and I got to make the closing statement for that wonderful event where so many Westporters turned up, and so many elected officials also came and shared their stories, and it turned out to be a beautiful morning where everyone came together, united to support the Asian American community.
And what did you say in that closing statement?
For me, I think when I was first asked to speak at this event, I must admit I was kind of terrified by that idea, not knowing how many people were going to actually be at this event, and also not being certain whether another powerful speaker could have taken that position. But when I was asked, I just knew in my heart that my closing statement would have to just bring everyone together in this understanding of what love is, what the meaning of love is, and how love has the power to overcome all the terrible things that happen in this world, which are embedded in fear and hate, and I just knew in my heart that love would be the message to share with everyone that morning. Yeah.
And what was the feedback?
I was definitely blown away by the response. I think at the end of the day, if we take a moment to get in touch with our own hearts and understand the power that we have to make a difference, and just the power of choosing love over everything, just changes your own being as well, right? So I got to witness that just from how everyone responded, and so that was special. That was really special for me as well, just to see how everyone, not just what I shared, but also from what everyone who spoke got to share. I think everyone was able to take that to heart and really think about, what can I do? What is there for me to do to make a difference in this? Yeah.
So the message of love is really, really important, but I would imagine that being a minority, being an Asian American, first in England and now in the States, and someone with a physical disability, that from time to time you might not have felt a lot of love. Is that fair to say?
That's a really good question. I think just from the very beginning, if I could share how my story even began, even before I was born and even before my parents even knew that they were having a baby with no arms, or like even before my mom even knew she was expecting, my mom actually had this very vivid dream. And in this dream, she walked into a room full of children, and every child she recognized except for one. And she turned around to see who else was in that room. And my great-grandmother was in that room. And my mom asked her, "Who is this child?" And she told her, "That's your daughter." And then opened this big book to tell my mom what my name was. And throughout my childhood, my mom would share this dream that she had. And I just remember from a really early age, I knew that the way I was born this way had a purpose, and that it had a greater divine purpose where I knew that I was special. Like as a child, I just felt that there was something very special about me being born this way. And so I've always felt loved, and I always knew that I was deeply loved from the very beginning. Yeah.
Wow. Well, props to your parents and to everyone in your life. In the grand list of things that you could do, I would imagine that art would not be at the top for most people. How did you become an artist? What was that path like, and how do you create your art?
From a really early age, again, I loved to draw and be creative. I still remember the very first time I picked up a pencil with my toes, and I started drawing, and I loved drawing, but it was actually not my plan to be an artist, because as a young child, I always wanted to prove to the world that I was more than what anyone expected me to be. So because obviously the teachers saw that I had artistic talent, and of course they even expected me to go to art college. But when it came to college applications, I wanted to prove that I was more than what they expected. So I ended up applying for mathematics and computer science. So that and not just one major, I decided to do double major. So I went to college and did mathematics and computer science, but I still had so much love and passion for art. It was just something that I wanted to keep as something that I loved rather than it becoming work for me, I guess. So it was only after I became a mom and I had this opportunity to go on this women's retreat. And on that retreat, they usually have an artist who paints, and that artist just happened to not be in town at the time. And the person who was running the retreat, her name's Cindy Halstead, she just randomly asked, Rosie, would you be interested in painting in front of the woman for us? And before I even had a chance to even think about it, my mouth had already said yes. And before I knew it, I arrived at this retreat with my kids' paints, because I didn't even have my own paints. And I painted in front of a dozen women, and that was the first time I got to paint completely from my heart, because like I didn't even know what, I couldn't even prepare myself, because I had already committed to it, but I didn't even know how it was all going to happen. And that was the first time I stepped out in courage, completely out of my comfort zone, and painted with my toes. And that was the beginning of me recognizing that I could do more with the talent that I had, that I could, touch people's hearts even more by sharing my gift and also sharing my story through that whole creative experience, and just inviting people in to experience that. And naturally, that led to me painting at my son's school as well.
What school is that?
So he was at Stepping Stones Preschool at the time. So that was my first gig, let's say, with 3 to 5 year olds. And I got to paint with them, with their toes as well. And it was such a magical experience, because some of the children could barely even write their own names with their hands, but there they were trying to paint with me with their toes, and it was just such a wonderful experience for everyone just to be part of that creative experience, and then see past my physical difference, right, and just realize that we all have our own differences that make us unique, but that's not something to be afraid of. And I think at the time, my son was entering kindergarten, and I didn't realize how scary that would be. I mean, I think any parent who is about to send their child to kindergarten will experience this sense of fear, because you just don't know. It's the kind of feeling where you're sending your child to the bigger world, right? And for me, I think my main fear was how is having a mom with a physical difference, how is that going to affect him with his peers, with his friends? And I realized that there was a lot of fear that I had in relation to that. And I remember just feeling so afraid to even put him on that school bus, because I would see these kids stare out the window, noticing that I had no arms, and they would just stare out the window, and I was like, oh my goodness, and now I have to put my kid on that bus, but I have no power to control what happens in that bus now. But by a wonderful teacher's invitation, my son ended up having this amazing kindergarten teacher who invited me to my son's classroom one day, and we got to paint together again. And so it just became this wonderful way of entering these children's lives in a way that was so welcoming and natural, right? Because I'm coming in to share my gift. They get to be part of this experience of trying something completely out of their own comfort zone, and then they get to see the beautiful thing about about how we're all so unique and different, but that's what makes us all special. And the kids end up feeling so uplifted by that experience. And so, yeah, I got to do a lot of school events since then, yeah.
You know, you talk about being unique and special and different, and I think a lot of times we think of Westport as a very homogeneous place where everyone looks the same, and you know, it's a suburban community and with not a lot of differences on the surface. So how has it been for you in Westport? First of all, what got you here? And then, you know, what's your experience been in this community?
It was my husband's job that relocated us from London to New York, and then from New York to Connecticut and here in Westport. And we've been in Westport for 10 years now. And I've always felt like it's been a blessing to have an actual physical difference that is visible instantly, because I think at the end of the day, we all have something. We all have that part of us that makes us feel insecure, or we always have something that we know is something that makes us feel like we don't belong. But for me, from day one, when you meet me, you know I'm I'm not the same. I'm not going to be normal. And so I've learned to embrace the fact that I'm not going to be normal, and that I'm not perfect. I mean, nobody's perfect. And so it's actually it's been a gift for me to embrace that fact that I'm perfectly imperfect, and I'm, you know, I'm beautiful just like you, or how you're beautiful, Dan. You know, like we're all beautiful human beings. And yeah, I think it's definitely been a journey, and every day I'm learning something new about my own self as well. And but you know, at the end of the day, I think by being who I am, I get to appreciate just a little bit more of my everyday being. Every day counts, and there's not a day where I would want to live that life not living my purpose. Yeah.
So what in this town helps you grow, helps you be who you are? Where are your places? Who are your people in this town?
Yeah. I've gotten to meet some incredible people while living in Westport, and I found my people through the Bible study group that I attend, and just the moms group that I became a part of. We've known each other since our kids were babies, and we've gone through, you know, all kinds of things that motherhood throws at you at those early stages of having a newborn. So I have a good group of mom friends who have become my family, and I call them my warrior sisters. They're my sisters. Yeah.
And where do you hang out?
We love to hang out. So we like to go for walks at the beach, and we love to, just visit each other at our homes, or we like to be adventurous at times, and so it obviously with the pandemic things are a little different now, but we just go wherever our heart leads us.
Are they artists as well?
No, it's a very interesting mix of friends. So I think I have an artist friend too, but we're a good mix from all kinds of backgrounds. It's the most diverse mix of moms, and we're all
love
unique
that
in our own way. Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that I try to bring out in my blog and with people like you is that Westport is a much more diverse community than many people realize. It sounds like you found that as well. Yes,
yeah. I mean, even when we sat together in a room one day, we were like, oh, this is like United Nations. We've got someone from Germany, someone from Venezuela, someone from Ohio, and someone, from London. And, it was, we would used to laugh saying, we're the United Nations of Westport.
And speaking of the United Nations, you're a soccer player as well.
Yes, I played soccer at college, and soccer was definitely one of the sports where I felt the most free because there was no limitation, right? No physical limitation, and I love the fact that I would never be caught for handballing. And also I work really well with both my left and right foot, so that gave me an advantage because I could use both feet. So I loved playing soccer. Yeah.
Do you still play?
Before the pandemic, I actually got to play with some of the, like the Westport, the adult soccer group. But I haven't been able to play since the pandemic. But I hope we can get back.
Yeah. Has the pandemic affected you in any way in terms of art or relationship to Westport, or what have the past 13 months been like? All of us have sort of dealt with a different kind of world, and you've always dealt with that.
Yeah, the pandemic definitely introduced a whole new experience of overcoming, right? I feel like throughout my life, I've been an overcomer, and then with the pandemic, that introduced a whole new different experience, because now I'm also the mom trying to keep my 3 young children thriving in the midst of a pandemic rather than just surviving. I knew that we didn't just want to survive, we wanted to thrive. So over this past year, I must say that my focus has become more for my children during this time, just because I know that they've needed me more than ever. And so I haven't been able to do as many art events. I had to cancel some scheduled events that I had before the pandemic to paint at other schools. But it's actually been good in the sense that I've been able to channel my creative energy on doing some more writing, because it's opened more time for me to sit and write as well. So that's been, a wonderful experience, just to be able to focus on something different, but also equally creative and wonderful. Yeah.
A couple more questions. You've spoken a lot about overcoming, and I think probably everyone who's listening to this podcast has to overcome something, has something in their life that, they need to, that's a challenge. So how do you do it? How do you overcome whatever in your life needs overcoming?
That's a really good question, because I think we can all relate to that. We all have something that we have to overcome. And for me, there are steps that I take. So first of all, if I'm feeling afraid about something, that's when my super ambitious, kind of radical side of me kicks in. And then I face the fear, and I look at it and go, okay, that means there's something more that I can do here. And there's something far more rewarding that's waiting at the end of this. So with that, understanding, I get to just come face to face with my fear, and I understand that that fear can be crushed, right? So my faith plays a huge role in that, and through that faith, that's when I can step out of that fear with the courage that I need to overcome whatever it is that I need to overcome, and just understanding that there's really nothing impossible with that faith and understanding, and so it gives me a better perspective on the actual problem or obstacle, whatever it is that I'm being faced with, and so I think my children probably. I would love to know. I would love to see my children sit here one day and see what they have to say about having a mom who always tells them, "Never say you can't, because you can," and that there's really nothing they can't do, and nothing I believe that I can't do. I mean, I have a physical limitation, but that is never going to be in the way. Like that, my physical disability does not define who I truly am, and so that is that's the attitude that I have, that nothing, absolutely nothing is impossible.
Okay, so last question. You're an artist, you're an advocate for the AAPI community, you're a mom, you're a soccer player. What have you not done, or what would you love to do that you haven't had a chance to yet?
All my friends know this. Driving. Driving is the only thing that I can't do yet. Well, I can't do it in the sense that getting a driver's license, that whole process is just a bit more complicated for me, but I can drive. I just have to hope that that the day when I can drive freely would come soon. Yeah.
Well, seeing the way people drive in Westport and hearing everything you're saying, I'm sure you will also, once you start driving, be one of the best drivers in Westport, as well as one of our leading artists, one of our great advocates for diversity and inclusion, and also one of our great inspirations.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you, Rosie. Any last words or anything you want to say?
Thank you for having me here, Dan, and I'll definitely invite you on a car ride when that day comes. We can go for a cruise around town.
There's a lot to see.
But I just want to use this opportunity to say, especially for anyone who feels like they can't, if they're stuck in this situation of feeling like I can't, I just want to encourage them that they are so loved, and that knowing and understanding that love is going to help you overcome everything in life, because love is an action, and love is not just this feeling or this magical fairy dust. That's not the love I'm talking about. I'm talking about the love that is very tangible, that love, the greatest love that can heal and overcome anything that you're faced with.
Awesome message. So if anybody wants to follow up and get in touch with you and be inspired, how can they get in touch with you?
Yes, I do have an Instagram page. It's just Rosie Jon, RosieJon. But if you want to follow our new AAPI Westport Instagram handle as well, then please do, because we're going to start posting some more information there to bring more awareness to our community, and it's growing. So we're excited to see where that goes as well.
And what's that handle?
AAPI Westport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Rosie Jon, thank you for being a guest here on 06880, the podcast. We learned a lot. You've inspired us all, and we look forward to your next act.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.